Today we're doing
Avants family and Lefty.
Avants
Mama.
Yeah. And we're doing experiments
With geology, so
Yes.
dirt.
Avants Mustang is here.
So
Oh, okay.
the first so we're using exploring creation with general science, and we're a little ways into the book already, but we thought we would do one for you guys. So the first experiment what we're doing is crystals. And we had done sugar crystals previously, and so we're going to be doing some alum crystals. Right?
Right.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we have some water boiling, and we'll run to get that. Can you tie a knot?
I get tired and gets not.
Okay, well, tie that in the knot while I go get water. Lefty is going to put some alum or loom into it,
Alum.
and you're going to stir it up until it starts going good, until it starts turning into kind of cloudy, okay?
There.
Into the water, yeah. So you're just going to put a little bit, mix it, put a little bit more, and mix it, okay? Don't put it all in at once. And be close so you don't spill. Yeah, it's cloudy. It says so it's cloudy, right?
Here.
Okay. Now it says to let it sit for a few minutes until it gets clear.
Okay.
Pour it first. So, okay, once the water is boiling, continue adding. Let the pot stand for a few moments and let the alum settle. That's not dissolved. Once it's pretty clear, then we're going to pour it into the cups. Okay, so our next experiment we're doing has to do with sedimentation.
Sedimentary rock. Right here.
So, bounce the table.
I'm sorry.
So we have some dirt in the jars. Basically, this is just to see how sediment works, right? The layering.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some dirt. This is just some potting soil. We don't have anywhere to dig really. And then we're going to add sand and gravel to it and mix it all up. And then we're going to add some water to it and then mix it up. And then we're going to let it sit and see what it looks like.
Yeah. Why do you do the other kind of
So, put in about the same amount. There should be about equal. But don't use it all. So you need a couple for another thing. Your sand kind of went through your rocks. I think you're supposed to put the sand in first, is what the instructions say. So you're supposed to have 3 distinct layers: your dirt, your sand, and your rocks. And your sand kind of mixed with your rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna go and get some water up to about here. Okay.
Who's shooting my darts?
We're putting on the lid tight, so you don't want it to leak everywhere. And slowly tip it, so make sure it's not leaking. Okay, so now you want to mix it up. No, not shake it, just mix it up. Just tumble it around.
How do we do it?
Okay, it looks pretty well mixed. Okay, so now we're just gonna let it sit. We're gonna let everything settle.
The sand's on the bottom. The sand and the rubble is on the bottom. The dirt and the mustard is on top.
Okay, so we're just gonna let it settle. So what did we see right now after you've shaken it?
Dirt and rocks on the bottom. Water in the middle. And dirt.
Okay, so we have the soil is floating right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then your dirt and sand kind of got all mixed up. Didn't they?
Yes.
Okay. So if we leave this for a length of time, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know.
Do you think the dirt will eventually settle?
Yeah.
Yeah? So our rocks and sand kind of mixed. They didn't really separate.
Let's show it to us.
Alright, so we're going to set this aside and we're going to let that settle and we'll take a look at it later. Okay, so this is about sediment and how you get sedimentary layers.
Right.
Alright. It says to mix it again in a little, like, let the jar sit for about an hour and then mix it several more times to get it well mixed, and then we're going to come back and see what it looks like later. Okay, so we're going to look at it. This is what we see. We'll leave it sit for a while. We'll come back and look at it again and mix it again and see if that changes anything. Okay, so why don't you set that up there? Okay, so we got this. We let it sit for a while. I don't really know if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but we're going to try it anyway. Okay, so there is some. Yeah, okay. We'll do as best we can. So we're going to fill this half full.
Wow, it's
so cloudy. It's cloudy, so we didn't let it sit long enough. But that's as long as we had time for. Okay, go ahead and put that in there. One half goes in all the way to the bottom. The other half basically is just holding it. Okay, and basically we're just going to let it sit and see if it grows any crystals. Okay, so if we did it right, we should get some crystals. We're going to let this one sit and we'll come back to it later and we'll see if we got the crystals.
We're back at it again, and we're Avants Mama, can you please explain? I can't.
Okay, so it's the next morning. We're back with our experiments from yesterday, and we're just going to take a quick look at them. They've sat overnight. Our sediment, I mixed it last night because it only took a few seconds, so I didn't record that. But you have to mix it every few hours just to get the sediments going. So this has been mixed twice. I'm going to just tip it so the camera can see a little bit better. But we have, yesterday we just had the rocks and the sand.
And the soil. Water in the middle, sand on the bottom, sand, gravel on the bottom, and where this stuff is on top.
And then the dirt was floating. Now this is a potting mix. It's not dirt from our yard or anything. So that's, I think, why it's floating. But last night I mixed it, and we noticed this morning that we still have the dirt and gravel, but then we have the potting mix with sand on top of it. So we're seeing some more layering, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to mix this again, and then we'll check it again later.
Nice.
So just tip it over, make sure it mixes. You can do it faster. Okay, make sure it mixes. Okay, keep going. Oh, careful.
Oh, snap, I'm sorry.
Alright, good mix?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's tumbled it around, he's mixed it up. We're going to let it sit some more, and we'll check back with it later. So now this was the alum, and we're trying to make crystals. Now, one thing I noticed about this,
We make bubbles instead, and the aluminum just sank.
that yes, the aluminum has separated a little bit more, and I think this is what it's supposed to look like. So we're going to take it out and see if we have any crystals, and if not, we're just going to put it back and see if we get crystals. Okay, so we have this little magnifying glass that came with our science kit, and Lefty is going to see if he sees anything. Do you see anything on the string?
I see some aluminum and a little bit of water. Wait.
Do you see any crystal forms at all?
I see some blue.
The plate's blue.
No, I mean on the disc.
But they're really, really small. So. Okay, so I think there might be a few small ones. So what I think we're going to do is put this back in. And we're going to let it sit some more. See what happens.
Alright.
Okay, so now we're moving on. We're going to do an experiment that has to do with plants and their excitement over water. So the power of plants. So we have some plaster Paris.
Fun fact about plants: they can split apart
Rock.
solid rock, and they're thick.
Okay, so we're going to use some plaster Paris, lima beans, and we're going
Lima
to
peas.
experiment or show how strong the roots are. So we're going to mix this up into a plastic dish, put some lima beans in it, let it set, and then put a paper towel on top of it and let them start to grow. And then we'll come back and see how they're breaking apart the plaster.
Okay.
Alright, so to do the plaster Paris,
My goggles.
we're gonna mix about half of this tub with plaster Paris so that it's like a really thick porridge.
Mommy.
You need water.
Oh. I need some water.
I think that'd be good.
I big pug.
Alright, so take some of those. Probably like,
One is in half.
Yeah, don't take that one. About 5 of them or so, I think, would be good. Trash can.
There it is.
There's a trash can on there.
Okay.
Alright, so put those in a line, or not in a line, whatever. Just put them in separate. Okay, stop. Did it sink all the way to the bottom?
Yes.
Stop. If it sank all the way to the bottom, it's too thin. Because it's supposed to sink a little bit, but not that far. If it sinks again, we're going to have to wait a minute.
Like that. It's supposed to be like that.
Okay, it said it will sink, but I don't want it to like disappear sink, because then it won't get moisture.
I just dropped it like this.
Don't drop them, just set them so that they're not falling in.
Oh, this must have gone her.
So what we're going to do is we're going to let it set, and then we're going to get a wet paper towel and put it on so that they can germinate and start to grow.
What's germinate?
Start to grow.
Okay.
So that way we can see the roots. Now it's very dependent that they start growing. They need to have roots. Okay, because that's going to show how strong the plants are. And if they don't start growing, do not do that. If they don't start growing, then this experiment won't work properly.
Right.
Okay.
Look at that. Thick. Today we're using vinegar.
So this experiment is to show weathering on rock. So I went to a homeware store.
I sniffed it. Spice.
a home improvement store, and I picked up what I thought was limestone, but I've been informed that it's concrete with limestone color. So we're going to still try it. We have some gravel left over from our previous experiment with sediment, so we're going to add that too.
We also have wool of steel.
And we have steel wool.
Wool of steel.
Wheels, okay. So this experiment is to show what different weathering does. So we have chemical weathering and you have physical weathering. Physical weathering is when you have wind or water eroding something. This is going to show the separation of the different, this one we're trying to get the lime out of the stones. So this is a chemical. So this is a chemical, yes. That's why it's called limestone.
We get the lime out the stone.
Right.
Limestone.
So this is a chemical weathering. So we're using vinegar, and you're going to, don't use it all, but fill it as much as you can without using all of it, because we'll need it for the other one. You can pour fast. And you may have islands.
Oh.
Most of it's colored.
It's already doing something.
So
It's already doing something.
the experiment says to watch and look for the bubbles, and that means the vinegar is working. So we're seeing bubbles coming off of my limestone. But I'm wondering if that's just because it's pretty porous and that's just air coming out. But something is coming. It's doing something. I thought.
You cannot see it.
So my limestone is doing something.
You cannot really see anything on the. You cannot really see. It's not really exact.
Something is coming off of that line, that piece though.
Oh.
I'm going to set this one over here, and we're going to let it sit for a while, and then we'll come back and stir it, and then we'll let it sit and see what happens. In this one, we're going to put our steel wool,
It's wet.
and we're only going to fill it just enough so half of it is touching.
So we're melting all this.
You're not melting any of it.
I don't know what
What
happened.
does steel do when it gets in water?
Rusts.
It rusts. So this is
What?
going to show rust.
This is how does water.
This is vinegar. It doesn't count as water.
So
Okay,
this-
so you only need to put enough that part of it is in there. That's good.
also sort of
So
floating.
the experiment says to just let half of it touch. Please,
Ooh.
yeah, you just bounce the whole table. Please don't do that. Okay. So we're gonna let this sit because I don't see anything happening right this instant. But we're gonna let it sit, and then in a little while we'll flip it over, probably off camera because that's not dramatic.
That's
and then-
like.
And then when we come to see what our conclusions are, then we'll bring the camera back.
Okay.
Okay?
Fact about these, they're actually already
You can
disintegrating.
actually hear that. I can hear it.
You can hear me because you're closer. I can't.
Okay, so this is for weathering, and we'll come back in a little bit.
I pricked myself with my knuckle and my thumb. My actually
Okay.
my fingers are my finger knuckles are sharp. Ow. Ow. That really hurt.
Welcome back to Lefty's experiments. So this was supposed to be limestone and vinegar. And there's something growing on this. We're not sure what that is. That wasn't part of the experiment, I don't think. They didn't say anything about it. It's like, it looks like it's kind of like, oops, sorry. Looks like salt. I don't know.
We
But
made homemade salt.
there is sediment on the bottom, so something did break apart. These are still hard, but they're still bubbling too. So that is so weird. Like, I don't know what that is. But
Well,
there is something on it.
And look at this one.
Then this was the steel wool and vinegar.
It melted.
It's pretty much non-existent. Like, it used to be fibrous. Look at all the rust. So we left these for a few days. We went camping. So they sat for quite a while. So
This has been rusting for 3 days.
Yeah. Okay, so that's rust. That's what we expected. This was the sediment. So we got a layer. So we shook it up 3 or 4 times before we left.
Wait.
So we can see we got sand, and there's a little bit of dirt, and then sand and rocks, and then dirt, sand and rocks, and the water, and then what's still floating. So you can see the different layers of sediment, right? Even when we shook it up, we still got like more layers, kind of. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the crystals. Now let's take the crystals out. Okay, so let's see. I don't see any crystals. Do you see any crystals?
Well, it's different.
It's wet.
It's darker.
It's darker. Okay, so it did change, but it didn't grow any like crystals.
Is this crystal? There's something on the bottom though.
Yeah, it was stuck to the bottom. Okay, and then this was the lima beans in plaster Paris. Now, plaster Paris is hard, solid. Don't touch the beans. But the beans, some of them have sprouted and pushed on the plaster Paris, even though it is hard. You see how it's pushed on it? Talking about how strong the roots are.
There's your proof.
Yeah.
And one of them is underground.
And like that one's even coming up. And we forgot to put wet paper towel on top of it too, and it still worked. And then Lefty wanted to show
In my sugar crystal disc.
a long time ago, almost a year I think, we made the sugar crystals. And we've just let it go. We haven't done anything to it. It's sat here
For like
I'm pretty sure it's got to be at least a year.
2 years.
No, we did it last year in science. So we have lots and lots of sugar crystals. It was supposed to go up the string, but it never really did go up the string. It just kind of filled the top layer.
Top layer and the bottom.
So we have lots of sugar crystals. So what I think we're going to do is just clean up the rest. But we're going to put a wet cloth on the plaster Paris beans and just see how much they grow and move the plaster. We'll give them more time. But the rest of it I think we're going to clean out. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that on top of the plaster. Put it right down in onto it so that it's touching all the beans. Do you draw on your arm? Or is that from helping Daddy clean up? Okay, so we'll come back maybe in a few days and check on the beans. Okay?
Okay.
Awesome.
See y'all later for another video. Thanks.